Yeah, I see. Yes. It's live on Facebook.
It says we are live on Facebook, so I'm just going to check my Facebook group. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first ever Just Between Us conversation. I'm Jacqueline, and I'm here with Shellie, and we're going to make sure we are live in our Facebook, in my Facebook group. If you're here watching us, welcome, welcome. We're going to give a couple of minutes for all the tech to catch up, for you to know that we're here. And in the meantime, I'm going to check that we're actually on. Yay, it seems that we are here. So I'm hoping you can all hear us.
Welcome, welcome.
Yes, okay. So welcome everyone in the Menopause Sisterhood Facebook group. If you're watching on replay, just do #replay. And if you are watching through YouTube or through Shellie's Facebook group, welcome. It's so great to have you here. And this is our first ever Just Between Us conversation. I'm going to explain just for a minute what the Just Between Us conversation is all about. And then we will get started. So I am Jacqueline. I am the menopause coach. I am yoga for women's health teacher and passionate women's health advocate. And I am all about empowering you to improve your health and well-being throughout your life cycle, specifically during menopause years, when there are a lot of myths and a lot of thoughts and preconceived ideas and about what menopause journey is and the way that women relate to it, the way that society relates to it. So this Facebook Live series is really about opening up that conversation, demystifying, debunking all those things that we think or see, and really talking about all things menopause, midlife, the aging journey, and how to do it in a different way to maybe what you have thought or seen or experienced yourself, and giving you very practical, real life conversations and experiences from women who have navigated these times and their thoughts and their ideas and their experiences. And today, for our first ever Just Between Us, I am super excited to introduce my guest, Shellie. Shellie is going to introduce herself. She's going to tell you all about her. What I want to say, though, is that Shellie and I have never met in real life. We have only ever met virtually because that is the world that we live in. And I'm excited, Shellie, one day to come and, you know, give you a big hug and say hello to you in person. But the world that we live in today means that over the last, 6 months or so, I've met amazing women, all virtually, all through this amazing technological revolution that's really been happening since Corona came into our lives. The silver lining of the last 14 months is this ability to be able to interact and meet people and connect virtually online. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about this Just Between Us series, because the ability to share our stories and to share our journeys and to connect with each other online was always happening and has, exploded in the last 10 or so years through Facebook. But really the last 14 months, I think, has given us the opportunity to really connect with each other. So I'm really hoping to do that here in this forum. A couple of housekeeping technical things. Please feel free to write comments in the chat at the moment as you're listening live, and we will refer to it. There is a bit of a delay because we're doing this on Zoom, so the Zoom Facebook integration means there are a few seconds delay. So write your questions, and at the end we'll go into Facebook and we'll check and we'll answer your questions. And if you're watching on replay, if you're watching in Shellie's Facebook group, or if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to connect with us, to ask your questions. You can reach out to me through Facebook at the Menopause Sisterhood or the Yoga Room. I am at the Yoga Room 120 on all social media platforms, and also on Gmail, the Yoga Room 120. So you can always reach out to me there. And Shellie, when you introduce yourself and you give your details, let everyone know where they can reach out to you in the future also. So We are a few minutes after our starting time. And Shellie, I'm going to hand the floor over to you for a couple of minutes to introduce yourself. Tell us who you are. Tell us a little bit about your professional background. And then we'll get into the discussion of why I've invited you as our first guest and what is your really important message to share and the journey that you've experienced. So I'm handing it over to you now.
Thank you, Jacqueline. I ditto that one day, God willing, we'll be able to meet each other in person. I just have to tell you a funny story. I told my kids that you were interviewing me about my menopause journey, and they laughed hysterically and they said, that interview is going to be 30 seconds long. So you'll hear all about it, but that'll be a small portion. So about me, I'm a weight loss coach. Really, I'm a life coach specializing in weight loss, but really it goes deeper. I really specialize in helping people have a healthy relationship with food, with eating, and with themselves. As I started coaching, I realized that a lot of people were eating their trauma, eating their emotions, eating their bad relationships with their spouse, with themselves. I'm EFT practitioner. I do a lot of EFT to get to the core. I really believe that weight loss, unless you address the root of why you're eating in the first place, I mean, eating it obsessively and excessively, you'll never solve it, which is why yo-yo dieters, 90% of all dieters keep gaining the weight back, and then an extra 10%. So it's not even fair. They lose all this weight and then they gain 10% more. It's awful. But a lot of these people, hundreds of pounds, they lose and gain every few years. It's really bad for the system. I was always into health, nutrition, looking after my body. I think like my earliest memories have been fitness oriented and outdoorsy and all of those things. And I think that really helped me with my menopause journey. I did suffer from anorexia and bulimia for over a decade. So I have that whole issue in my back pocket. I can relate to obsessive eating, being totally driven thoughts 24/7 about when to eat, how to eat, which a lot of my clients deal with. And I'm here to share my knowledge, my journey, and answer any questions. Oh, I can be found on my Facebook page is Shellie Berman Grafstein. Shellie spelled Shellie. And you can send me a message and I'll answer it. And my free Facebook group is called How to Lose Your Weight for Good. And it's full of unique recipes, ideas, techniques to lose weight, how to eat properly, all of those good things.
Amazing. And we'll put the links to those groups in the comments afterwards. So you talked about the fact, you opened saying that your kids laughed when you said you're going to be talking about menopause because you sort of sidestep menopause. So firstly, tell me your personal details, how old you are, how many kids you have, and how old your kids are, because I think it's really important to put that in context for women listening. And then tell me what your menopause story was or wasn't, and why you think your menopause journey was potentially different to the way that we understand menopause journey in our society.
Terrific. So I'm 61. I have 5 kids, for Hashem. My oldest is 28. My youngest is 17, which means I had my last baby at 43 and a half, but I had 3 at like 40, 39, 41, and 43 and a half.
Yeah.
And my menopause journey. So first of all, my mother and my grandmother, like her mothers, menopause journeys were from hell. Like my mother was, oh my God, I can't even begin to describe what it was like. I was going through puberty. My mother had me at 40. I was going through puberty when my mother was going through menopause.
And you remember it. And you remember it.
Oh my God, I remember because oh my God, my mother is normally an incredible, wonderful person. And it was like 5 years of like, oh my God, like torture. So I was actually expecting
I want to interrupt you and say, firstly, that in itself is a really big conversation, because part of the opening up the conversation, is talking about it with your other female family members. And the fact that you visibly remember your mother experiencing her menopause in such a debilitating way, in such an impactful way for you, is already the first step in the journey. That already is the first step of your story.
Right. So I was expecting to go through, I didn't think it would be so as bad as my mother, because our personalities are very different, but I really was expecting like all the things I read. So I was divorced at the time, so I wasn't going to the mikvah, I wasn't counting my period and days and anything like that. So gradually my period just got lighter and lighter and lighter until it was like an hour a week, an hour per cycle. Yeah. And then I thought, I haven't had my period in a long time. I'm gonna go see Dr. Dinner, my family doctor, to see if I've started. And he took blood work and he said, Shellie, you're done. I said, what do you mean I've done it? I don't think I've started yet. And he said, what are you talking about? Like no hot flashes.
How old were you at this stage?
I don't remember. I was probably around 54, 55 when I went.
Okay.
And I think I had 3 night sweats in my entire menopause. But they weren't the horrible night sweats. I was just hot and peeked off my blanket kind of thing. It was nothing like my friends would say where they woke up and the mattress was soaked and they did get changed. I wasn't moody. My kids will attest to the fact, like, of course, I'm biased. I never think I'm moody, but my kids said, no, like we didn't know you were going through it either, which to me, my mother also didn't know she was going through it, but everybody around my mother knew she was going through it. But nobody knew, including me.
So let me ask you then, what do you think you did, or what do you think was different for you that allowed you to, were you just lucky or was it intentional?
So it was definitely a combination of everything. I think Hashem blessed me that way. I have had a very healthy lifestyle for decades and decades. I'm vegan, and I was vegetarian for 50 years before that. Well, 50 years, including my vegan period. I've been vegan for 3 years. But even when I was vegetarian, I really did not eat a lot of dairy. And I did not make the connection until Jacqueline spoke to me and I realized, wow, this is like really, really unusual. So I went online to see if vegans have an easier time through menopause. And it turns out that yes, not 100% across the board, but vegans do have an easier time. And women from Asia, the older women, when they had an Asian diet, now it's too American new diet. But from like 30 years ago, they also breeze through menopause. Asian
women across the whole Asian continent, there is a different language related to menopause. And there is a very different, as we know, different lifestyle and different food. So everything about the Asian menopause experience for Asian women, again, across that whole range. I know, we're just using Asian to sort of lump a whole lot of things together, but the cultural language is different and the lifestyle is different, which it is known that Asian women have a different menopause experience.
Right. So I didn't know that until I researched it. But what I did find out is eating a lot of vegetables is extremely healthy all the time, but especially through menopause. Believe it or not, eating soy tofu is apparently very good because it's got the phytoestrogen, which really helps. I exercise a lot. I'm outdoors. I really believe there's a very strong electromagnetic field in the earth, and I'm outside and I really feel connected. I spend a lot of me time. And I think that also helps, that you can really connect to yourself and express everything before it gets bottled up. And I think a lot of menopause, from what I've heard, is people are navigating it alone. And there's a lot of emotion. And I think the end of your childbearing years also has a lot of emotion. Forget all the other things. And it's hard on your own. So I had myself, which is a funny thing to say, but I really talked a lot about it with myself and did a lot of walking with my dogs. And I live right across from magnificent fields, and I spent a lot of time in nature. And I think that eating healthy, I don't eat any processed food. And I think that makes a huge difference. So ladies, the earlier you can take processed food out of your diet, the better you'll feel immediately. Also, when you gain weight, which menopause, a lot of women gain weight, and it tends to be, and you can't see me, but it tends to be located right around your middle.
In the middle, yes.
And the fat itself excretes, I just drew a blank, for arthritis. What's the word I'm thinking of? I'm drawing a blank.
The
inflammation. Yeah, yeah. It secretes like inflammatory hormones. So you're doubly whammied. You're carrying along this extra weight in your midriff, and all your joints ache.
Yeah.
So
you know what? One of the reasons, to explain for women, one of the reasons why there is weight gain in that middle area, it's to do with the fluctuating estrogen hormones. There's a lot of reasons, but one of the clear reasons is that as we lose estrogen during our menopause years, our body wants to hold on to it. And estrogen is stored in fat cells, specifically in that mid region of our body. So we're sort of battling these sort of two natural biological things that are happening, the natural reduction of estrogen and our body's desire to hold on to estrogen, which it does sort of in the fat cells. That's one reason why women store fat.
Right, and then it's double whammy because you have all these aches and pains that you never had before. Yeah, I didn't have it, thank God. But most women have that, so they're less inclined to exercise, to do all the things that really, really help. With kind of gliding through menopause or having minimal symptoms.
So the reason why I wanted you, Shellie, to be my first guest on the new Just Between Us series is because everything that you've said, this what I call a holistic puzzle approach. Puzzle because it's lots of different components in this holistic approach of being connected to yourself, the food nutrition element, the movement element, the de-stressing element, the really listening, having time and space to listen to your body. That is exactly how I work with the women I work with in that holistic puzzle approach. And you are sort of unwittingly, without knowing it, the end result of what you can be if you introduce all those elements to your life. And it doesn't have to be a long laundry list of all the things you have to stop doing or all the things you have to do during menopause years. Can be very small, realistic, practical things. You, for yourself, it was just a way of life for you. You have been vegetarian or vegan anyway. You didn't adopt that lifestyle to help with your menopause, but you realized that it just, it was beneficial. So there are lots that we can just do as part of our normal life, whatever choices you make, that can support you. And you are, a class example of how you can navigate your menopause journey by this more holistic thinking.
Thank you. Yeah, it was interesting when Jacqueline and I spoke for the first time. I was like, wow, like we're totally on the same wavelength, 100%. It was so great. It was so refreshing for me to speak to someone who's trying to help all women have what I was lucky enough to go through. And it's awesome.
So let me ask you now, at the age of 61, post-menopause, because this is a discussion and a very large conversation about what does aging and post-menopause years look like. The images we see, or the language we have around that of, as you said, inflammation, arthritis, can't remember things, a cranky old woman, like sort of that image versus what I call the modern menopause journey. And you as a perfect example of a postmenopausal woman who, is, flourishing, thriving, all the empowering words you want to use. So tell me a little bit about that side of things, that sort of part of the journey.
Okay, that's great. I would love to. So first of all, I've never felt healthier in my entire life. I've never been fitter in my entire life. I decided at 58. So I went on a trip to Thailand with my son, who was then 14, and we backpacked and we stayed in hostels, and we met my other son, who was doing his post-army trip. But it was great. I was doing everything that my 14-year-old did, and even more. Like, he was napping and I was out sightseeing on my own. And I decided I would really like to start running. That's when running and taking yoga. those are two dreams I've had. And when I came back, I thought, if not now, when? So I had a goal of running a half marathon, and I hired a running coach, Jenny Zeltzer. And I was running 3 or 4 times a week, and I ran the half marathon with my daughter and Jenny. Wow. And it was awesome. Like, I did a fantastic time. I was silly enough that I didn't look at times, like what's the proper time for someone my age running. And I was able to run at a time like an average 30-year-old ran. So I was really thrilled. I walk a lot. I started my coaching business. I took some marketing courses. I have my MBA, but they're totally obsolete. I took marketing courses online. I took my coaching certificate, and I started my business. And I don't think at this stage there's anything that physically that I couldn't do if I wanted to do it. My daughter and I talked about going scuba diving. We had Corona, and now that it's almost over here, we'd like to go scuba diving. There's nothing. I just can't think of anything that I couldn't do either emotionally or I couldn't have a baby, but other than that, everything else I can have. The world's my oyster.
So firstly, that's amazing, and that's the way it should be. But when you tell women, or when you tell people I'm 61, how do they respond to you? Are they like in shock, or is it like, sort of because I'm interested in the language that we place on certain things that impact and influence what we expect, or how we expect to show up, or how we expect things to be. And we don't expect in our cultural language for a 61-year-old to, be living being able to keep up pace with a 14-year-old boy when they're out hiking. So again, things are changing, and things are changing dramatically, but I'm interested in your personal experience of, how do people respond to you being a 61-year-old woman doing the things you are doing, living just the life that you're living?
Interesting question. So first of all, I think a lot of our perceptions have changed because we see so many people my age in their 70s, even in their 80s, living very active lives, starting businesses. But a lot of people still have the image of grandmothers, fat and roly-poly and sitting on a chair knitting at my age. So most of the time when people meet me, I emit a lot of positive energy, and I look small. I can wear my kids' jeans. When I decide to fit their jeans, I can wear their clothes, and my kids are all tiny, my girls. And people have a hard time believing I'm 61, especially if they see me from the back and they don't see my wrinkles. And I think, wow, she's like, it's my daughter with her girlfriend. And then I turn around, oh, it's her mother. So I think there is still a bit of that holdback of people your age can't do it, or are silly to try it, or it's dangerous to try. Like your bones are fragile, you can break a bone. Like, why do you want to go horseback riding? Why do you want to go running? Even my kids say, it's so bad for your knees, it's so bad for your hips. Like, why do you want to do it? So I don't know where my kids got that from, but I guess it really just depends what people watch and listen to get these impressions.
Yeah. And I think that we are seeing more older women who are, in senior leadership roles, who are achieving amazing things. And so the narrative is changing. But I definitely think that, at least on a local level, there are still preconceived ideas. So it's amazing that you are, one of the women who is demystifying and debunking those images.
Thank God.
I want to ask you about the work that you do today and how you support women today and how you're sharing your message.
Okay, so I have my Facebook page and group, and I'm working with women. Again, thank you, Corona, for the one good thing is I have clients internationally, and people come to me ostensibly for weight loss, but if you take away everything else, what I really get them to do is love and appreciate who they are. There's so many women. I have yet to start a relationship with a woman who can actually say, I love myself. Like, I love myself for who I am. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to be anything. I just exist. Therefore, I'm worthy of my love. And that's really like when I can get a client to say those words and believe them, it's like, wow, I've really hit success. And again, like I said at the beginning, it's like an onion. We keep peeling the onion, all the different layers of the blockages and the trauma and what's holding you back and preconceived ideas of self-love. But so many of us tie it to accomplishments. Like, I can't love myself because I'm not making six figures, or I'm not a runner, or I'm fat, or whatever it is. You can love yourself. I mean, you should love yourself because you exist on this earth.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's especially hard for women because we are nurturers, caregivers. We're always outward focused, giving to all the people in our lives. And we we all know that one of the problems of women in midlife is them paying attention to themselves and their needs. And so, so that self-love is a very, very big thing that so many women don't really learn. I think we have to learn it, when we look at our teenagers, and you have, young girls and I have, teenage girls, and we know what's going on with teenage girls, and we know what's happening within social media, and we know the challenges that our daughters are facing now. I think probably worse than at any other time in our modern culture, where this notion of self-love and having to present yourself in a certain way is such a big challenge.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I can't even imagine being a young woman in today's society. You really have to have tremendous grit. I heard a psychologist say this great quote, and she said, middle age is the time when you're really accountable to yourself.
Yeah.
I thought that was so great. It really sums it up. Like, this is now the time. Like, you were so outward focused on raising a family and getting your career going, and now this is really me time.
Yeah, it is. And it is biologically so. It happens for very biological hormonal reasons. There is also a life cycle that women go through. So usually around menopause, we've finished having our children. We biologically can't have any more children. So that nurturing, giving, outward focus is now, that's stopped. And biologically, as our hormones change and as the FSH hormone becomes more prominent, we do become much more inward looking. And that is sort of the biological life cycle that we go on. But I think so many women are challenged by that because they don't really understand why all of a sudden they want more time with themselves, for themselves. And that creates a lot of confusion because we're so used to looking outwards, and all of a sudden our body is telling us, look inwards. And there's a lot of sort of emotions around that.
Right. Which is awesome you have this group, because I don't know any other forum where it's really talked about openly.
Yeah, thank you. So I want to ask you, as we come sort of towards the end of our conversation, just looking at the things that I wanted to make sure that we discuss, 3 things, 3 tips, 3 messages that you really feel that every woman needs to know. From your own life experience, from working with the women that you work with, 3, important things that you just would love every single woman out there listening to know about.
Okay, so the first is self-love. And so for some women, they can't say it, so you start just with something neutral that you can accept. And one of the ways to get to self-love is listen to your inner dialogue, and you'll see how many times you speak negatively. It's usually an ongoing loop of negative things. Just pay attention the first week, and then the next week stop it and change it to something neutral, and the following week change it to as many positive things. Like, you can say, I haven't lost my weight yet, as opposed to saying you're a fat pig. And those are very different messages that we would say to ourselves. So self-love is number 1, like, and number 2 is far behind. But number 2 is to eat vegetables. It provides vitamins and nutrients and phytonutrients and everything that are so beneficial. So try to relate that they should be the bulk of your diet. So even if you don't want to stop what you're eating, just add more and more leafy greens, sprouts, really a rainbow of colorful vegetables, so you get all the nutrients that you need. And I hate using the word exercise because it's so laden with so much trauma.
Yeah.
But move your body.
Yeah.
Move your body. If you can do 2 jumping jacks, if you can do 1 push-up, if you can walk around the block, half a block, just start with something. It's so good. It's not, you don't lose weight by exercising, but you get to know your body and how it works. And there's something very empowering about building your inner strength and getting to know and be able to push yourself more and more of what your body is capable of doing. So those are my 3 biggest takeaways.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think a really important word that you use is yet. I'm not there yet, or I'm not doing it yet. I think yet is a super powerful word that women need to start using. I actually was listening to, I don't know if you know the actress Mayim Bialik. So she has a new podcast out called Mayim Bialik's Breakdown, where she explores a lot of mental health issues. And she, I heard her in an interview, and she talked about, literally just yesterday, about how every day she wakes up and she says, this is a new day. I am a new age today, and my kids are a new age today. And we are experiencing a whole new experience today that we've never experienced before, because I've never been this age today. The experience I'm going to have today, I've never had before, and my kids have never been this age today. So that, it was really powerful when I heard it yesterday. And it's like every day really is a whole new experience. So you don't carry the burden of whatever you went through yesterday, the guilt, the shame, I didn't, as you said, I didn't do this, I didn't eat properly, I didn't exercise, I didn't do whatever it is that I know in my head I have to do, because that was yesterday. Today you are a new person. You are your age with your life experience coming to what you are experiencing today. And so it's a clean slate. So you start today, with showing up with everything you've learned, with the wisdom that you bring, but without the baggage.
I love that.
It's a bit hard, but yes.
I love that.
Yeah, I thought that was really profound, and it really connects into your whole philosophy of self-love.
Totally.
Wow, amazing. Any last thoughts that we haven't covered? Anything that you really want to say that we haven't yet discussed or we've forgotten to talk about?
I would just end with, everybody has the potential to create their own destiny. Like as you said, start from square one. What would you like to create? We're in, as my mother would say, the third of our life. And if we don't have a goal, we'll never hit it. Yeah. So dream of all the things, write them down. What would you like to be remembered by? And then work backward. If you want to be remembered as someone with a big heart who was super friendly, start now. Like, it doesn't matter what you were before. This is the time to actualize all of our potential. Yeah, and I want to really thank you for being such a role model for how to navigate menopause. I know just because you didn't experience it doesn't mean you didn't go through it, because it is a natural biological process. You were just, and I won't even say one of the lucky women. I think that you are one of the women who created a lifestyle that supported you during those years and is supporting you even now. So I think that's also super important, that the strategies that you put in place for your lifestyle changes, they're strategies that are part of who you are, and they support you now going forward, which is allowing you to have this amazing, full life now. I think that's really an important message for everyone to know, that, you've got to put the strategies in place, because it helps you to navigate the different stages of your life, the different health experiences that we go through, and sets you up for, as you said, that third of your life, that, the third act, in Jane Fonda's words. So yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for really being a role model and shining a light on it all. Thank you for giving me a forum to speak. This is great. I wish you every success with all your women. God willing, they'll all experience what I did. Thank you so much. And
thank you everyone for joining me. This is our first Just Between Us conversation. There are going to be more. At the moment, they're scheduled for every 2 weeks. So join me Wednesday, 2 week time. And you'll looking forward to sharing that conversation with you. Let me know your thoughts and have a fantastic, fantastic day, everyone. Bye. Thank you, Shellie.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Jacqueline.
Bye.
Bye-bye.